All right, let's go. I'm pissed off. Yeah, something's got me tweaked up again. So, but we'll wait till any notifications that might go out do go out, and then we'll talk about it. We're getting a we have a very clear cut winner in. Well, I shouldn't say clear cut. It was pretty close. In the post I made over at the or here at the YouTube channel for the next podcast stream as well. All right, here we go. Tyler bombs in, and Johnny and Colby, Sue Chen, Pay Today, Mr. Croissant, Indecisive Angel, Nicholas, Mortem, Madman Surf, Erwin Elf, Curtis Hart. Ah, the gang's coming in. Justin Roiland was found innocent. Well, it was the not found innocent, but the charges were dropped, dismissed, which is basically the same thing. Let's see, and Fizero? I remember to catch a stream and say, well, I'm glad you did. We're a little later than usual. Just was a wild day today. We're trying to post Gravity Falls. It screwed up my whole timing on my whole day because I re-edited it 4 times and it still wouldn't go. It's going to be interesting to see because YouTube has definitely changed the way that they go about posting these blocks on reaction videos. In the past, anytime they found a segment that, now this isn't, a person doing it, it's when the AI does it. In the past, anytime it would always be at least a 30-second clip, 30 straight seconds that they felt was their property, and they would block it. Today was the first day that wasn't the case. It was fine. It was just little snippets here or there and still blocking. So that could change everything for a lot of people. Toby says, I won't get $10 for this, Curtis. What do you call a hooker that farts after? A prototoot. And Nicholas says, by the way, your faces when trying to hold back laughs and the try not to laughs make me spew soda out of my nose. Yeah, those faces make me almost spew something too. One of these times it's just going to be what little bit of brains I have left coming right out of my ears. Sometimes I do those try not to laughs and I actually end up, not a debilitating headache, but I end up with a headache just from the trying to hold it in, because laughing is my thing. I've always laughed easy and laughed really hard. So when I try to squelch it, especially at that stuff. Now, like when we do the streams here where it's make me laugh with a joke, win $10. Jokes are easier for me to, and nothing's easy for me, but easier for me to resist laughing. Whereas those freaking segments from Family Guy and South Park and stuff like that, they destroy me. Good man, Jack. He says, ready for some debauchery. Been far too grown up today. Yeah, that sucks. That sucks. Hi, Kyle. Glad you're here. Yeah, me too, Jacob. Like I say, I've always loved laughing. Well, that's how we started doing the try not to laughs. Because it's like, well, that's something perfect for me because I know I'm going to fail. Some people are good at it. Everybody's different. Some people will find something funny but don't necessarily outwardly chuckle. Whereas me, I go into freaking fits of laughter. Also, hey, I want to give you guys something too. For the podcast, and we're going to be doing all the podcast streaming here. We have a yeah, think what you're saying, Curtis. We have a Discord now. So if you guys are Discord people at all, please pop on over. We should go over there in a little while. Alpha's been putting up some really funny memes. He had me cracking up earlier. Just posted some more today. But here, I'll give you guys the link. Yeah, well, if I can, there I am. There's the link if you guys want. I don't know how many of you are into Discord, but and any of you that don't know, it's just a place. It's the modern version of message board. It's a place to all hang out and have fun. And this one, unlike our existing one for the channel, this one is going to stay more basic. Just a few different sections, and main area topic, I shouldn't say will be the podcast episode content, because it can be whatever you guys want it to be. But that's the link for it. Mortem says, you ever seen Blasphemous HG? Sure. That guy is nuts. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time, but I've seen him. Jack says Alpha's been a busy little drug dealer. Yeah, he put some more memes up there. I think it was this afternoon. Some of them are really, really funny. Stormstar says I'm gonna be late to Discord, like I've been late to every other popular platform. Listen, if you got a streak going, you got a thing going, you got to stay with it. Surf says to make things more interesting, if you laugh in TNLT video, you'll take a bite of pineapple pizza. Nah, I ain't biting no pineapple pizza because there's no doubt I'm gonna laugh. It's not like I have a chance. So it's basically saying you'll eat pineapple pizza while recording a video on that. No. Well, thanks, Jacob. I appreciate that. Mr. Croissant says the way our Congress treated Shou Chu was ridiculous. Racism was blatant as well, saying he was Chinese when he was Singaporean. They worry about social media more than gun violence. I've never been a big proponent of, with government, they worry about X more than Y. Government needs to be worried about everything. Doesn't mean one is more than the other. That said, just knowing what I know about TikTok, I wouldn't care if it went. It's definitely, it's definitely a front for the Chinese government. There's certainly, it would be insane not to think they aren't collecting information. So I don't think it's a good thing. A lot of people in America like it and love using it though. So I don't know, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. But to say they're more concerned about that than gun violence, I think is not true in any way, shape, or form. The problem is gun violence isn't going to be, there aren't simple solutions. There is a simple solution to TikTok. It's owned by the Chinese. They don't have to allow it here in America. So the conversation is, what do we do about it? Zeno says, I sell a Pokemon card and the IRS wants to know. The Pentagon can't pass an audit in 6 years and nobody bats an eye. Life sucks. Yeah, and Zeno, just in what you're talking about as far as a concept, yeah, I think it's becoming more and more disparate, the disconnect between government and people within the government and us regular folks. I think there's little doubt about that. Cass says best solution to crime is to address poverty. I think that's a I think that's not inaccurate. But then again, you come up with the same questions. How do we address poverty? Again, there's only so many dollars to go around. What are the most effective means for helping lift people out of poverty levels? So I don't think you're wrong. It's just that it's easier for us to identify what needs to happen than it is to figure out what concrete solutions will actually make it take place. Blockbuster is coming back, Kyle? Did anybody in the world call for that? Was anybody really missing Blockbuster? I'm kind of surprised. Like, really? Hey, let me tell you what my rant is. Oh, and guys, you guys know that I think the most, I got to be careful what I say on YouTube because they're very sensitive. The most useless people in our society tend to be a lot of the Twitter personalities who got to become Twitter personalities by using Twitter. And by that I mean, if somebody follows somebody because they're an actor or an actress or a politician or whatever, that's understandable. But the ones who built a following using that platform, I think do more harm to the general way of life in this world than do any other individuals. And I don't like them. And we saw another case of it. This points out so perfectly why I can't stand them. What happened, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, Disney announced that they're bringing the biggest LGBTQ event or I forgot what the terminology is, but gathering in history to one of their parks. That's cool. And it's not surprising at all if you know the history of Disney World. We're a big Disney World, and that's my whole family. They've always had a very close relationship with the gay community and by extension the LGBTQ community. All over Twitter, it blew up. And now this is exactly why these people are garbage. You can go on there, just search the terms Disney LGBTQ, and you'll see everywhere people screaming, Disney comes out and throws a big FU to DeSantis. Disney throws down the gauntlet. It's all confrontational. Disney went after DeSantis by bringing in the biggest LGBTQ meetup, whatever they want to call it, gathering ever. Well, no, they didn't. They absolutely did. The reason they post that is it will get people at each other's throats. It gets the people in their little echo chamber all fired up. It gets people that, for whatever reason, oppose such things all fired up and gets everybody fighting. Disney has been friendly. The gay community and Disney have been hand in hand for decades. This is not them being woke. This is not that. And that's the other thing. You got people on the other side going, okay, here it is, Disney. Go woke, go broke. You're catering to them again. They're not catering to them again. They're doing something for a group that has been a core audience and spends a lot of money in their theme parks and has for decades. But all these useless douchebags on Twitter use it as another reason to get people riled up. Again, it's the people's fault for falling for this crap. But Disney is not. No way. Disney is not looking to take a swing at DeSantis. That's counterproductive for them. Whether they like it or not, their theme parks reside in his state. They don't want any more contentiousness. It didn't work out for them well last time. And given that both sides got a lot of bad press, I'm sure DeSantis doesn't really want to go around with them again. All this is more rabble-rousing, trying to get people mad at each other. We've been down there. We go to Disney as often as we can. We love it. We've been down there for Gay Days, while Gay Days was going on, several times. And I will say this. There's a lot of different groups that come into Disney at different times of year. A lot of those groups, unfortunately, and I won't mention by name, but a lot of those groups are obnoxious. They have no manners, no concern for anybody but themselves, and they actually make your experience at the parks something a little bit less just because of what assholes they can be. That's not the gay community. They're a blast. I've never seen anybody, and this is just from my experiences, that knows how to enjoy Disney World better than the gay community does. They're like, and part of the reason I go to Disney, I love watching people enjoy the place. And you'll see people in their rainbow gear, and they're just freaking loving all the interactions with the characters, and they lose their minds on the rides, and they just really, really have a good time. And in my experiences too, are some of the more polite people there. They aren't people that are just running you over, running your kids over, smashing through you to get ahead in line. They're please and thank you people. That relationship between Disney and the LGBTQ community has been there forever. This was not anything that was a slap at DeSantis. And this was not Disney from the other perspective. This is not Disney going extra woke. It's a company doing something with and for a group that has put an awful lot of money into their pockets. But you have these anybody on Twitter, if you go on there and you see anybody with any type of a headline stating that Disney takes a swing at DeSantis by doing this was pointed right at DeSantis. They gave him the finger. Or on the other side, saying Disney's going woke again. We got to make them broke because they're inviting all the LGBT, all the alphabet people in. Anybody saying either one of those things is garbage. They're not somebody you would want to follow. And if you want to comment in their threads, mock them. That's all they're good for is mockery. That's my rant for today. That pissed me off. I don't like those people anyway, and this was just such a perfect example of it, of exactly what I'm talking about with them. Maz says, meanwhile, Disney is probably tossing money at DeSantis behind the scenes for tax breaks, etc. And the thing is, Disney and the state had always had a good working relationship, and that only went south when that Bob Chapek was in charge. A lot of things went south at Disney World when Chapek was in charge. If you had Iger, that would have never happened anyway. The whole thing would, because Iger knew how to get along. You know, Iger is a brilliant businessman. He knows he's in DeSantis' state. He doesn't want to fight with him. Chapek was not. That's the only reason that all took place. They've been getting along together for years. And Jack says, people truly are morons. All they do is let people tell them it's someone else's fault, be it woke or politics, without realizing just thinking what's best for them is the way to get results. Right. Again, this was so stupid, and people are gobbling it up. Again, that's not Disney taking a swing. Disney's got a great relationship with the LGBTQ community. They always have had. It makes perfect sense for them to have a gathering of this magnitude. Again, the gay community for years has been pumping a lot of money into that mouse's pocket at the theme parks. Of course, you're going to reward, and you're going to want to do something extra for those who have been in your corner all along, have been supporting your business all along. Retro Mint Man says, just got done watching your reactions to Higurashi. Oh, that was good. Thanks for keeping me occupied as I do some work from home. Higurashi was great, Mint Man. That really was. That was creepy. That show, the whole time I was watching it, you know what? Really, it's funny the things that stick out in your mind. Those, it was summertime, and the why is the name going out of my head? The little creatures that make the chirping sound in the background. I can't even think of what they're called. But they that sound in the back got so eerie because of the nature of that show, and it was always present there. That was some weird, really good, weird shit. Cicadas, thank you, Cass. Yes, those cicadas in the background. Those were, oh man, that sound. Kyle says Disney is worth more than Biden. Disney owns most of the world now, right? Zeno says, cannot wait for, oh, hold on. You scrolled up on me as I was reading it. Cannot wait for Jujutsu Kaisen to come back in July, right alongside Bleach. Going to be crazy. Jujutsu Kaisen was good. Agreed. Was really good. Gimster says, so anyways, I'm going to go to Mouseland and Twitter ranting while running people over with a handicapped scooter, even though I can walk. I think I'm in the right, don't you guys? Yeah. Yeah, the scooters in Disney, that's a whole other, if you're within the Disney World fandom, that's a whole other contentious issue in and of itself. Philip says, speaking of Disney, the Little Mermaid live action movie looks like shit. That's what everybody's saying. Hallie, it's not Barry though, is it? Is it Barry? It's Hallie, I forgot her last name. And the guy playing the prince look like they're taking a bad shit, not falling in love. I've seen a short clip of it, and I've seen a bunch of stills that outline basically what you said. I didn't take any interest in it, and has nothing to do with the race of the Little Mermaid or anything. It's just that Disney's track record recently with live action versions of their properties has been shit. I just don't get excited for them. The only one I saw that was any good that I can remember was Lion King. But even then, that still didn't stack up to the animated version, but at least it wasn't horrible. So I just don't get enthused for any of their live action stuff. Surf says, but you got to admit that for the past 10 years, Disney has been catering for the left. But I agree that people have a problem with this are extreme from both sides. Well, and it's a manufactured problem. That's more than anything else. It's not even extremism. It's just they're manufacturing it. They're saying, again, they're out there saying, oh, this is Disney taking a swing at DeSantis, when that's not true at all. But they're able to work people up and get people working against each other because it's good for their clicks. That's all. They know if they say something like that, they can get the echo chamber all charged up, and then they can get those that oppose their echo chamber all charged up, and a lot of people will click on their stupidity. That's all it is. Really? Zuchen says, I heard there's a new anime releasing in April. It's a Harry Potter parody, which is all I know. I hadn't heard about that. I don't know anything about Harry Potter. Well, I've never seen Harry Potter. I know basics of it. Toby says, the jokes are always fun, but I really enjoy these live streams, man. You deserve so much more for following here on YouTube. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I may not be a Goosh member, but I've watched for years when Spazboy was very young. Yeah, Toby, the days. I just, for something I was doing, I'd watch the Quap video that we did, the second video we ever did on the channel the other day, and brings back memories. I think you'll see now I have moved the podcast entirely here to YouTube, and with some of the topics we have coming up, I think you'll see more and more people gravitating this way. I'm hoping so. And again, I'll post that. For any of you, speaking of which, that want to carry on conversation beyond here and stuff, we do have a Discord set up for the podcast. So that's the Discord link if you guys want to hang out over there. Zeno says, I occasionally, when I'm feeling down, go back to your RVB reactions and just run the playlist. RVB was fun. I'll never understand why I had issues with them. I did everything just how, what's their name? Company that produces RVB. Oh, not going to come to me. But anyway, I did everything exactly how they ask you to do it in reactions. You know, I put the little disclaimer down at the bottom, and Rooster Teeth. Thank you, Philip. Rooster Teeth. And most of them went through, but every once in a while, they would just come in and block them. It's like, I mean, you can do that if you want, but you said we can react to them, just do this, that, and the other, and I did this, that, and the other. So I don't know what happened there. Oh, that's true, too. I forgot about that, Zeno. It says Warner Brothers bought Rooster Teeth and nothing was ever the same. You guys told me that. That's right. I hadn't even been aware of that purchase, but I remember you guys telling me that. Toby says, I'm hoping one day Dragon Ball Super will return. Too bad there was never a DBZ-A for Super. Anything Dragon Ball, I'm always on board for. But yeah, that again, it just that's going to charge me up anytime though. I really do. I think, especially Twitter, that those Yazoos on there, the influencers of Twitter, are the biggest part. Take the biggest part of responsibility. I'm trying to say, for the rift in this country more so than anybody else, and they do it on purpose for clicks. And unfortunately, again, people fall for it. If I follow somebody on any social media, it's because of what they do outside of social media. You know, it might be an athlete or an actor or something like that, or somebody that has maybe a great podcast I enjoy. But the ones that created, for instance, on Twitter, that created their following entirely on Twitter, they're always junk because they got there by just trying to rile people up. They're disingenuous. It's not like they genuinely necessarily believe everything they scratch out on that platform. They're just trying to get people worked up, and it works. Hi, Chrome. You're from Pittsburgh, Texas, Austin? Favorite board game? I haven't played board games in ages. I never even had a favorite when I was a kid. When I was younger, it was chess, and I told you guys OCD set in on, or not OCD, I'm sorry. ADD set in on me late in life because I can't play any game that takes that much sitting around. Things need to keep moving. I used to play a lot of chess. Other than that, I was never a big board game person. You know, we'd play Monopoly here or there as a family, play Yahtzee and some of the dice game, but nothing that really stuck out. Zeno says, I think nowadays having role models is a bad idea in general. Nobody is perfect in a vacuum, and all it takes is one viral tweet about something from 10 years ago to change everything. I don't think so much, Zeno, that having role models is a bad idea. I think it's just, and this has always been true, and unfortunately people don't do it, I think you need to take your role models in their entirety. If someone's a role model to you, follow them for the reasons that they're a role model to you. You know, if you're a budding basketball player and you just love Giannis Antetokounmpo's game, by all means, you can look up to him as a role model, but understand that he's a human being. He's probably a bad example because I've yet to hear anything bad about Giannis. But if he does do something wrong, don't go running to defend him. See him as a real human being, and understand that if he does something wrong, well, he may still be my role model, but dude, that was shit. You shouldn't have done that. That's where people fall off with this role model stuff. It's like, okay, they can do no wrong. I'm a big fan and they can do no wrong. That's why so many YouTubers have gotten themselves into trouble. Because they get this little bit of internet fame. A lot of times they're young. They don't know how to deal with it. And then to make it worse, they've got their fans, when they do the stupid thing, instead of the fans holding them accountable, and that doesn't mean you have to abandon them, but instead of them holding them accountable and saying, hey, that was fucked up. I've always liked what you've done, whether, your videos, whatever it is. I've always liked that. And I'm a fan of your work, but that you screwed up. But instead, they will twist themselves into knots trying to make excuses for it. So I think having role models is fine as long as you don't get swept away in it. They're just role models. They're not gods or anything. Let's see. Hey, Ruthie. Ruthie Rainbow. I'm not a role model. So Charles Barkley. Remember that, Surf? He and he was 100% right, and he took a lot of heat for that. But that's what he was saying. And Barkley was correct. He's like, I'm a good basketball player. That doesn't mean I should raise your kid. And explain that to your child. You can look up to Charles Barkley. If you want to emulate elements of his game, if you want to collect his trading cards, if you would like to someday get an autographed shirt or pair of his sneakers, sure. But whoever it is that you look at, myself included, being out here as a public figure, and I tell people that all the time. We have a much more mature and older audience here than do a lot of YouTubers. So I think you guys would be better at that. But you should absolutely hold me to a standard. If I do something fucked up, outside of the usual fucked up, like trying to touch you guys inappropriately and everything, come on, it's not a big deal. But yeah, you shouldn't just blindly say, oh, that's cool, or make excuses for it. Of course not. If I do something wrong, I gotta face up to it at some point. Solara says, decided to learn the guitar, Papa Curtis. How are you? I'm doing good. I can't, anything like that. I can't, no dexterity in my fingers. I told you guys about, my best friend when I was in high school was a really good pianist. That is a funny word. Pianist. And tried to teach me to, because I love music, tried to teach me to play the piano, and these stupid fingers are just unreal. It almost having lack of dexterity in my fingers almost cost me a job once many years ago. Hold on, let me get Damien's super chat first, and then I'll tell you guys a story. Damien says, roses are red. I love my cat, but I can't resist this YouTuber who is both old and, well, YouTube won't let me say the last word, but I'm sure you know what I mean, Curtis. And the thing of it is, Damien, the funny thing is you're right. YouTube, and again, that's just another YouTube thing pissing me off. They would get mad at him if he finished that with, love this YouTuber who is both old and fat. First of all, I don't get offended because I am fat. I've always said I don't get offended by anything that's a fact, and that's a fact. But I tell YouTube all the time, because we have that option, don't censor anything. I want to know what people are saying. I want them to be able to put their point across. If they get out of line, we have a great team of mods here. They'll throw them out. But it doesn't do any good. Demonetized for language, yeah, lunatic. Jack Queen says, why is bad touch even called bad touch anymore? Shouldn't it be called tunnel vision or something? Yeah, around here at least, yes. And now I would tell you that story, except I forgot what the story was about. I legitimately did. That's how. That's the concussions right there. That moment to moment memory. Now I remember saying I would tell you something after I read that, and I forgot what we were talking about. That's pretty fucked up. Big Green says YouTube made a new fantastic change. The autoplay timer no longer stops when I scroll down to read the comments. I have to turn it off, otherwise it goes to the next video. It's awesome, man. What the hell? I just sometimes you just want to smack your head into a wall trying to figure out why they do some of the things they do. Let's see. Chrome says, so the final episode of the Pokemon anime aired last night. Not seeing it till I eventually catch up, but it's crazy after 1,200 episodes the series is over. They gave the new series a name as well. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I know how I get when we finish up an anime over at the Goosh or something, and, it might be 40 episodes, could be 100, whatever. And you really get that very strong, bittersweet feeling when it's gone. I can't imagine if you followed something for 1,200 episodes or what it's going to be like for all of us when One Piece finally ends, or all of us that are One Piece fans. Duh. Kaiser says, you being okay with it, but YouTube deems it offensive is what the series A Centaur's Life touched on. The Centaur girl, Himiko, can't offer her friends a ride or else they could get arrested for it. Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, I just don't get that. And supposedly, from what I understand, a lot of that censorship is supposedly to protect us, the streamers. I'm not that soft. It's words. We need to be protected from words now. That's sad. Especially here. We've got buttons that can just, if you don't like what somebody's saying or somebody's being disruptive, happens all the time, we get rid of them. That's all. I just don't understand it. It's just fucking words. This is a lot of the problem in general, though. Why we have a lot of the issues we do is everybody's just so sensitive, overly sensitive. I mean, it's not nice to say mean things to people, but it's going to happen. It's always going to happen. It's human nature. So you need to be able to deal with it at some level. If you have to shrink away every time somebody says something that hurts your fifis, life is going to be really tough for you. Gimster says, now can you watch the entirety of Pokemon before the series ends? My requests are always reasonable. I remember, what was it, Gimster? It was it was during when we were watching Naruto that you began with your series of reasonable requests, wasn't it? Yeah, because we would, that's, I think if I'm remembering right, people would come in and of course we were all enjoying Naruto together, and I would keep them on a regular schedule, and people would come in and say, well, why don't you do another episode of it today? Well, you got this coming up. Why don't you do 3 episodes on this day? Because they all go together. And I would tell them, like, especially back then, I was still working full time and everything. It's like, I don't have enough time in the day. And Gimster used to jump on that and say, can you finish the next 35 episodes of this arc before you stream again tomorrow? My requests are always reasonable, or something like that. Damien says, it's not protecting us, it's protecting bigots that YouTube doesn't want to deal with, so they just give in to them. Damien, and a lot of YouTube policy and rules are made just because it's easier to give in. That's the unfortunate thing. Plus, YouTube being owned by Google is so set on, above everything else, they must always be politically correct. And that's where a lot of it comes from. Right, and Big Green says, and so far they have indeed always been reasonable, 100%. Gimster's requests are nothing if not reasonable. Lick says, words can hurt, to be fair. You ever been beaten over the head with the dictionary? Hurts like hell. It's funny you say that too, Licks, because if you think about my background and my career, I've been bludgeoned over the head with pretty much everything, but I don't... You guys are going to be shocked to hear this. Dictionaries are not a common staple in wrestling locker rooms. A lot of the boys don't sit around reading high literature. Yeah. Stormstar says, you said words instead of all communicative methods. Cancel him. Oh, Chrome says, well, there is still a few months till the English dub for Pokemon ends, so you've got enough time. See, it wasn't an unreasonable request at all then by Gimster. Cass says, for me, it depends on the words and the power / influence of the people using those words. I'm also Cass. I understand what you're saying, but what depends on it? Whether it's offensive or not? I don't know what you mean. Sure, it's offensive. But again, to me, there's not enough. Life's not long enough to worry about being offended by something. Now, if it comes from somebody who's close to me, that's different. Then I'll stop and take stock, and that includes you guys. If it's one of you regulars, people that have been with me and I consider my friends, been with me for years, and you have you have a question about something I've done, said, whatever, I'll take it into serious consideration. But when it's just, and it almost always is, somebody who randomly pops by and it's the first time I've ever seen their screen name in life, and they've got a concern or something, I don't care. I just don't. I mean, who are you? My favorite thing is when they'll come in and whatever, a reaction video or whatever, and tell you, okay, you need to stop doing it this way. Don't talk over what they say. It'll work better if you do this, that, and the other. It's like, who the fuck are you? Why would you think that I care how you want me to structure something? And if you say that to them, they say, well, it's just a constructive criticism, but you don't understand. Constructive criticism means nothing when you don't have a background connection with me. For all I know, you're a flaming pedophile. Why would I be concerned about your criticism? I don't know who you are. Why would I consider it constructive? People are amazing. There is way too much in society now, and again, social media helps with that, an overinflated feeling of self-importance from a lot of people, that if they feel something should be this way, then the world should do whatever it needs to do to make it that way. Stormstar says, are you telling me all wrestlers weren't doing the Brian Pillman method of thinking up promos? That's one of the things I miss, Stormstar. I miss doing promos. Promos were fun. Well, you guys know me, I never shut up. So promos were fun. Philip says, that would actually be a great gimmick for a wrestler, a guy who goes around bludgeoning people over the head with heavy books. That would have been good for somebody like, do you guys remember Lanny Poffo when he did the Genius gimmick? And he would come out, dressed all very academically, and he would read poetry and stuff. You're right. That would have worked perfect. could have knocked the shit out of people with War and Peace or something. Hey, Alpha's in. I was just telling the gang, Alpha, the last group of of memes you posted over at the podcast Discord. Those were pretty good. I like those. Chrome says, by the way, the banking crash continues. Deutsche Bank looks like it's next. Really? Their stock dropped over 13% and credit default swaps are skyrocketing. Really? That's a big fucking bank too. Oh shit, I hadn't seen that yet. The thing, when I get days like this, I told you guys earlier, I was trying to get Gravity Falls posted, so I had to do 4 re-edits, and it still wouldn't go. But that takes up my whole day, so I get behind on everything. The stream is late. I didn't get to, catch up on any of the news of the day or anything. Oh, really? Lick says it's a very reasonable request. There's only one episode of Pokemon which isn't filler, and it's the one with the fake tits. I've heard so many tales about that episode. Austin says, is wrestling real or fake? I just want to know. Wrestling is real in the respect that it's exactly what it says it is. It's a blending of theater and athletics. Do we know who's going to win? Of course. But is it physically brutal? Yeah. Again, I played all the sports growing up, including boxing, including football, all of it. And nothing beats you up like wrestling. Oh, Jesus. Alpha says, have more waiting for big man. By the way, we're ready for that cavity, sir. Sure, demanding, wink, wink. Yeah, I think that's only fair, Alpha. We shouldn't say anything about some people get squeamish about the body cavity search, so we shouldn't mention that. Once you join the Discord, you have to get one. It's a policy we'll probably get rid of, guys. Don't worry. Lunatic says, not a great depression, but the greatest depression. Let's hope not, but it's not. It's certainly not looking promising. Chrome says, wonder why this episode was banned by 4Kids. Hold on, I'm going to grab Chrome's link for a second here, guys. Randomly remembered the Pokemon anime episode that was banned in the USA because they gave James huge fucking titties. That's what, and that got it banned. I've heard you guys talking about that episode before. Well, you guys know how porous my memory is. But when the conversation turns to titties, I tend to remember shit. It's all priorities here. I am going to be trying to stream on the weekend, streaming podcast episodes. Hey, you guys always have good tips on stuff too. Outside of the obvious and saying, drink a lot of sticky stuff, the problem I'm finding now streaming, I do so many videos a day. I get up 5:30 in the morning and I do our 3 daily videos for the Goosh. Then I'll typically record a video or 2 G100 videos, and then I record stuff for the YouTube channel here. So by the time I stream, I can only, today isn't as bad. I can usually only squeeze out like another hour and my throat just stops. I actually can't form words anymore, get them to come out, because I guess the vocal cords are just so stressed. Is there what's good for something like that? I mean, I could Google it, but I'd rather hear from you guys, and in case any of you have actually had an experience. I'd be able to stream a lot longer if I could keep talking. Damien says, heck, going back to the bigots comment I made, that's also why dislikes are invisible, because a bunch of corporate interests not being able to handle the stuff, not being like, you're right, 100%. I knew that's why I said, aside from sticky stuff, Big Green, I knew that would be the that would be the advice. Philip says honey and hot lemon. Oh, Chrome said honey too. Really? And Jack says honey and more water. I've been drinking a lot of water, Maz. Trying to called it. I'm not a big honey fan, but I would, if it would help, I would do that. Honey tea is good for that, Johnny says. Okay. All right, I'll look into that. Yeah, because that occasionally will shut down a stream before I want to shut it down, because I can't do it anymore. I can feel my voice giving out. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. I'll have to look into that. Lemon and lime juice and more water, Surf says. And the way you guys talk, maybe I'm not slugging enough water. I mean, I keep this here all the time. Maybe I just need to be more conscious of how much I'm taking in. Because I would like to, if the podcast starts taking off, I would like to do some marathon podcasts too. But again, until I figure out a way to get this to go away, I won't be able to. Excuse me. Yeah, thanks, Gimster. He says, I think mayonnaise could help. Just guzzle it with American cheese. And that is not a reasonable request, just so you know. Philip says you take lemon juice, put it in boiling water, and mix in honey. Really? That's interesting. I'll have to get into that. I'll start with that first. From what you guys are telling me here, and could be entirely true. Yeah, especially for a body my size. I probably don't drink nearly enough water, huh? Now that I think about it. I got a 295-pound body I'm lugging around here. I wonder if that does have something to do with it. So I'll start with that, and if that doesn't help, I'll move on to the whole honey and lemon thing. Very cool. Milk and honey. The only thing, Zuchen, another one of the joys of getting older. I don't have lactose intolerance per se because more often than not, I can go out and have ice cream or have this, have whatever I want. But every once in a while, dairy gets my stomach upset. And it seems to be typically if it's milk, directly milk. I even had now with my cereal, when I want to have cereal now, I have to use almond milk, which actually doesn't taste bad. I was shocked. I only tried it because I really wanted to have some cereal, and even using the skim because I'd been using skim milk forever was starting to bug my stomach. So I said, well, can't hurt. So I tried using almond milk. That tastes way better than skim or 1% milk, I think. So I got lucky there. Jack says, milk makes you poop, doesn't it? It sure does. Yes, it does. Ma says, you're starting to get the old person lactose scores. Why not? I'll tell you guys, and something to look forward to, especially for you dudes. The one thing that has always been, a stereotype and made fun of and stuff as you get older, but is 100% true, is how that your hairs start growing in weird. I get every fucking day, and it amazes me. Now I'll get up in the morning, I'll look in the mirror because I don't want to terrify you guys any more than necessary with all this before I start recording, and I'll pluck some of these wild, weird eyebrow hairs. And I get up the next morning and there's more. How is that possible? Because again, they're long. So I snap out everything that looks like it's on its way to even being long. And there's more. And then you'll get them growing out of the corners of your ears. Oh, it's fun. Yeah, lots of fucking fun. Stormstar says, thick milkshakes kill me, but I'm not afraid of dying. Milkshakes are hit and miss with me too. Yeah, Stormstar. I can get away with them once in a while, but not always. I think too, you know what? You guys may have helped me in more ways than just one today. I wonder too because I've been thinking about that now that you guys said it, if me not drinking enough water is also exacerbating that. Because why does, certain milk products bother me sometimes and not others? I wonder if it does have something to do with how diluted it is, depending on how hydrated I am. P. Green says, I'd rather not talk about growing old. I'll be in my 30s next month. No worries, pal. You're still in your prime. You got a lot of prime years left. Lots of them. Chrome says, Jim Cramer, the financial genius, says they're very profitable and doing well. So take that as you will. He said SVB, Signature Bank, and Credit Suisse. How is that pronounced? Swiss were stable as well. Yeah. So maybe we won't put a lot of stock into his take. Yeah. Deacon Key says pizza from Riverside for supper. All right, Deacon, who are you? Do you mean Riverside from where I used to live? You gotta identify yourself to me. Sis says the body of your liquid content requires a significant amount of chemical augmentation. I might not be able to recommend a healthy amount. Yeah, you guys are probably right. As I sit here and think about it, as a matter of fact, I'm sure you're right. I'm trying to think of the amount of water I drink during the day, and it can't even be close. I get up in the morning. It's one of the first things I do. Before I even come upstairs to start recording, I'll take a good slug or two of water. And then I basically just reach for my mug here, if not because I should be hydrating, but because I am thirsty. And you have to drink besides when you're thirsty. I know that. It doesn't add up to a lot of water at all, especially for somebody that's the size of a moose like me. Hey, thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that. Who got it? Hey, King of Ices, Ayuga. He's a member of the I'm sorry, I was just reading that. He's a channel member with us now. The Size Doesn't Matter Club. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that. Austin says, favorite flavor of snow cone. Mine is rainbow. I couldn't tell you. I love them so much. We have down here, I think I told you guys this last year when we moved down, We have a place called Pelican's Snowballs. Those things are fucking amazing. They're so much better than any snow cones I have had prior. And they opened up several weeks ago. My wife and I finally went back and had some this week. Oh, they're so good. That's why I can't tell you a favorite flavor, because there's so many flavors there, and they're all so good. They're amazing. Philip says I grew up the son of former dairy farmers. I've been drinking 3.25% milk my whole fucking life. That's as close to drinking directly from the cow as you can get without having your own cow. Yeah, see, not no more for me. Kaiser says, in terms of fast food joints, who has the best burgers over there? Also, is Johnny Rockets still running there? I tried the Irish equivalent, Eddie Rockets, and their burgers are amazing. Johnny Rockets, that became a bone of contention for us, Kaiser, because we had one local to us when we lived in New York, and it went right in the crapper. We used to love it. And the quality went downhill bad, and we never went back. Who has the best one? All depends on your taste. I really like Five Guys. I think Five Guys burgers are really good. But it depends on what I'm in the mood for. Sometimes just a plain old Whopper. I like that flame grilled stuff. Is just more what I'm in the mood for. So it's really, there's so many burger joint chains here. It's just, whatever your personal tastes are. Kyle says, I'm watching a very old Family Guy episode from season 3. I've told you guys before, that's why, one of the reasons why I feel I have that strong connection to Family Guy, because I just happened to be watching the Tracy Ullman show the night when it debuted on there. So I've been watching it since absolute square one. And I remember laughing hysterically because the Tracy Ullman show itself, even for me who laughs super easy, was not funny. But they showed that cartoon and I was like, holy fuck, that was good. Cass says, if I'm feeling disgusting, I get some guilty pleasure McDonald's. We were just talking about the other day, Cass, my wife and I, this is the longest we've probably gone in our adult lives without having McDonald's. One of the reasons was where we lived in New York, when I lived in Fonda, New York, that was the only fast food joint that was easy and convenient. And, we always had kids in the house, whether it was our kids, grandkids, or whatever. So a lot of days when you needed food fast, it was always going to be McDonald's because it was the local one. And now that we're here, there are so many more fast food joints, and they're all over the place. I know I haven't had McDonald's since we moved, and I hadn't had it for a little while before, so it'll be coming up on a year that I haven't had McDonald's. Maz says, get lactated when you're going to eat a lot of dairy. I'd heard that, Maz. Other people have told me that. Yeah, I should keep it in the house. I never think to. You know what it is? Because I'm an idiot. I always think, because as I said, it's not every time. So it's like, I'll probably be okay this time. Well, why would you say that? You don't know if it's going to be okay this time, or but that's me. Oh, no, it'll be all right. It's not going to give me this time because I'm a dumbass. Damien says, so just to clarify, a snack of yours is done balls? And you love Five Guys. There's a hidden message there, isn't there, Curtis? It's funny to say that, Damien. We had a good friend of mine. We all called him Fuzzy. His name was Frankie Pizarski. He passed away years ago, unfortunately. Just the most lovable old goof you ever meet in your life. But I worked with him, and we used to tease him all the time about being gay and stuff, and because he wasn't, just to bust his balls. And there was a bar not far from his house in the city he lived in called Tuman's, Tumans. And that's where he would go because you could get vodka cheap. That vodka was his drink, and they had it cheap there. And I had said that to him one time. I said, I know it'll make you stop going to Tuman's, Fuzz. And he goes, what's that? I said, when they open at Three Men's. Really stupid, bad joke, but Fuzzy thought it was hilarious. So, let me guess, you love hot dogs with your done balls? I do like I had hot dogs earlier this week from another fast food place here. Boy, the best excuse me. The best fast food place we have around, as far as, not necessarily the highest quality or anything, but if you just want fast food for what it's there for, a place to go in, get something quick and have a little bit of a selection, is this Cookout restaurants we have down here. And the price is insane. My wife and I went in the other night, got our dinner because again we're on in a hurry. The two of us ate, were entirely full, and it cost $14.25. It's amazing how inexpensive it is. I don't know how they do it. Johnny says, I always like Council Rock Brewery and Jerry's Place Burgers in Cooperstown. And I've had to have seen both of them because, as you know, Johnny, I used to be in Cooperstown quite often. I can't picture them. The pizza place on Main Street was my favorite. I told you guys that. That's one of the reasons why. Because whenever we were spending time in Cooperstown, I always wanted to go to that pizza place because I loved it. So that's why I'm trying to think where it would be. Council Rock Brewery and Jerry's Place Burgers. I'm not familiar with those. I would probably know them if I saw them. If they're right in town anyway, I would know them if I saw them. But Damien says, phone hates me. I type some phone change to done. Okay, that's why I couldn't get it. Now let me remember, Damien. I got to remember what the entire context was. So just to clarify, a snack of yours is phone balls and you love Five Guys. There's a hidden message there, isn't there, Curtis? Because you said, oh, wait. No, okay. I typed some phone change. I thought it said phone. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Now it makes sense. A snack of yours is some balls and you love Five Guys. I don't think the message is even really that hidden, Damien. I think there's some latent tendencies there without a question. Ma says we give old folks that are lactose sensitive some lactate capsules when their relatives take them home. Be smart, avoid them squirts. You're right. That's what I should do, and it's been recommended before. And again, it's probably the same. It's the same logic, the same decision making I employed when wrestling with things like, I told you, okay, we need a big move tonight, a big boom, a big hit in a feud I'd been having in the ring. And so I find, this manure shovel and say, here, hit me with this. And my partner, who played my little brother, a dude I just loved, and is fortunately no longer with us, when because it was his idea to hit me with the sink. So when he looks at it and goes, nah, dude, I don't want to hit you with this. It's too stiff. And I'm like, no, it'll be fine. It's the same thing as saying, I can have milk because it's probably not going to bother me this time because I don't make good decisions. Kyle says, are you excited about WrestleMania? Yeah, I've been watching more wrestling leading to this one than I have in several years. What match are you excited about? I don't know. I don't know if I have any specific, excuse me, guys, match I'm excited about. The whole card seems like it might be pretty good. I think the anything that involves Asuka, I'm always excited for. I just love her. But it's just going to be, for me, it's just one of those, I'm hoping it's good coast to coast. Yeah, Big Green, one concussion is not so bad. Yeah, that was, again, I don't remember much of it because it took my lights out. But I told you guys, the guys in the back, one of my buddies said, because they have at this house, they had a little monitor there. They had one camera set up that was attached to a monitor, so everybody didn't have to crowd around gorilla position looking through curtains if they wanted to watch what was going on. And he said, you got hit with that thing? And the whole place he said the whole locker room just went dead silent. He's like, everybody was thinking the same thing. He's fucking dead. He killed him. Chrome says you're lucky to be alive after the sink incident. Lucky your head isn't caved in. Yeah, that one I have. I don't know. Have I showed you guys that? I could show you that one. That I have on video. But the manure shovel I only have a picture of. I showed you that before. The picture right before impact. But the sink I actually have on tape. And as much as it hurt my ears more than anything else. That was so fucking loud. When that sink crashed down on my head, I mean, my ears were ringing. It made me, let's say it made me feel dizzy, but that could have been the concussion too. Wick says, I can't remember being ever concussed, so that must mean it's never happened, right? Curtis probably. Not Curtis probably. Almost exactly that. The conversation I had with my ex-doctor, my Dr. Patel, who hated the wrestling, when they diagnosed me with, they said symptomatically I have to have post-concussion syndrome, blah, 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 blah. They did that in the emergency room. So when I went to my next doctor's appointment, he's reading that and he says, he says, well, that's it. That's the end of, yeah, I can't do an Indian accent. That's the end of wrestling for you. And I'm like, no, it isn't. And he says, and he comes around from the back and he looks at me and goes, don't you understand? That's brain damage. And I said, don't you understand? Nobody's going to notice. And he's laying out to me everything that's going to happen. And he's the one who told me, he said, it's going to destroy your short-term memory. He said, your long-term memory will be okay, but it's going to destroy your short-term memory, blah, 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 blah. So I said to him, I said, well, that's perfect. He goes, what's perfect? I said, if it's going to destroy my short-term memory, I'm going to walk out of here, forget I even got it, and I'm good again. He didn't think it was funny. He would always, I would say shit like that, and he would write stuff down in my folder, in my file. So he didn't tell my mom, what are you fucking writing? He had to send a note home. I think they're going to put Cody over Roman. I think Kyle. I mean, just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think so. Oh, Big Green. He says your interactions with that doctor are hilarious. It was fun. It was fun times. I'm surprised he didn't just tell me not to come back, because I can't say he didn't have a sense of humor, but he didn't appreciate my sense of humor, and he did not like you being flippant, which I guess is understandable. He's a doctor, about your health, so he would get really annoyed. But but yeah, he was a good dude. I other than every once in a while his Indian accent was heavy. Other than every once in a while having trouble understanding him, he was a good guy. But boy, he despised the wrestling. Yeah, Chrome says that doctor has to have some stories you probably don't even remember. It's funny. I know that's true, because a lot of my wrestling stories and stuff that I tell you guys, I found out about them secondhand, because the boys from the locker room would tell me or something, because I don't remember. I was concussed. I don't remember a lot of those stories. I know I've got a lot of blank nights, where I don't remember the rides home and stuff. Like, I can remember a show, to give you an idea. My buddy Dave, who we were very close. Braxton, when he was little, always called him Uncle Dave. We were that tight. And him and I used to have to wrestle each other all the time, because we would go ape shit. When you really know somebody and really trust somebody, you can make for a great match. So we had to work each other all the time. But anyway, Dave was huge. Dave was like 6'3", 6'4", about 3 1/4. And we had another one of the workers with us. His name was Chris. He wrestled as Shockwave. Little guy, little flighty guy. Chris is a good dude. Don't get me wrong. He had some issues, things he was dealing with. So it would get his balls busted a lot. Well, it was about an hour and a half trip. I think we went to Vermont, wherever. It was about an hour and a half trip. At the beginning, Dave and I were sitting in front. Chris is in the back. I don't even know how it came up, but Chris must have said something stupid or something, so he started making fun of short guys, of little guys. He got mad. Well, the worst thing you can do is let somebody know it's bothering you. We did a full hour and a half of nothing but discussing how short guys just really don't have a purpose. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're short, not anything we believe, just to antagonize this kid. And we filled an hour and a half of antagonizing him. We even kept it about an hour in. He just said, fuck it. And he curled over and he was maybe he was asleep. He was either asleep or pretending to be asleep in the back seat, but we didn't stop. But the funny thing is, I remember I had a brutal match that night. I don't even remember going home. Now, I remember that trip up distinctly, because, it was fun. Just those good times you had with friends. And I'm sure we probably had a good time on the way back, but it's black. There's not even a sliver of a memory of it. Let's see. Stormstar says, I've always heard you hit your friends harder in the ring than people you don't know as well. Well, you trust your friends, Stormstar. I'd always said, like, Dave's a good example. If we're putting a match together and Dave said, okay, well, we're going to do a spot where you jump off the roof, I would jump off the roof. Not just because I'm stupid, because I know Dave, and he wouldn't tell me to jump off the roof unless he had a way to protect me. I don't need to know how he's going to do it. I guarantee you he would make sure I didn't get hurt. That's when you can make a good match with somebody. Yeah, absolutely 100% trust. And yes, our matches were really stiff. Same with my buddy Haas. My buddy Haas and I, who both like doing hardcore style, when we would put a match together, and it was typically hardcore matches if him and I were working, um, we would put together a beginning and an end and no other high spots. Other than that, we just beat the shit out of each other. Those those were as close as you'll see to a real brawl. I mean, our punches would land, our kicks would land. You're not knocking each other out, but I would come home. My wife used to dread when Hoss and I were going to wrestle because you would come home, my eye would be swollen shut, and you know, you weren't looking your best. Jack says, someone tell Bruno Mars to give up the game. Short people don't deserve to live Curtis Candy 2023. Oh, it was funny though, Jack. We tortured that poor kid for a solid hour and a half. I don't know where we kept coming up with the material. Wick says, me and the boys on our way to beat the shit out of Tom Cruise. And Mason says, how would you describe yourself as a wrestler? Violent. That violence was my gimmick. And everybody's got to have their gimmick. My matches were ultra violent. I could take a lot of abuse. I mean, I found out years later there's a literal genetic mutation that I have, as was described by a doctor, a football helmet under my flesh because my skull is so thick, the bone density is so thick up there. I was able to withstand a lot. But yeah, it was violence. Damien says, now can I ask if Philomena watched your wrestling, or was that before you met? How would she be the wrestling match? No, I wouldn't. I never even asked her to go. I mean, it was over the top. I knew she would be freaked out by it, and she didn't want to go anyway. But knowing, and even when I would go into a match thinking, okay, maybe I'll take it a little easy tonight. Once you get that adrenaline pop, it doesn't matter if there's only 20 people in the crowd. Once you hear those 20 people cheering, clapping, whatever, you see them, it's like, I'm going to give these people a show. And then all the wheels come off. It's like, all right, now we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Now I want you to take this. Now I want you to hit me. And I would come down to the ring and I was fucking fired up. I just, that's the way the business hit me. You were a whole different person. One of my, another favorite, talking about being fired up, because this is what inspired it. My best friend in the world, his name was Tom, and he passed away a few years ago. His daughter, Michelle, she was probably 14 at the time, maybe. She just started dating and stuff, and she had a new boyfriend. Well, the boyfriend loved wrestling. And Tom said, hey, they're coming tonight and everything. He says, if you get a chance, you should screw around with them a little. So I had forgotten about it, but I had a hardcore match coming up, and I remember getting introduced, and I'm coming down, and I would get in that fucking frantic state. And I'm coming down, and as I'm heading towards the ring, I see, and I'd forgotten about it, but I see Michelle standing there with her boyfriend, and it all came back to me. And I got past them. I stopped, I took 2 steps back, and again, I was out of my mind by now. And I grabbed hold of his shirt and I yoked him right up. I mean, his feet came off the ground. I yoked him closer to me. You know, I was reaching across the barricade. I said, are you fucking eyeballing me, boy? And his eyes got big. He goes, no, I wasn't doing nothing. I said, take your eyes off me. I said, I'll rip your goddamn head off right here. And he's looking down at the floor and looking away. And Michelle's going, stop it. She was so pissed at us. She's like, he loved wrestling. Now he doesn't want to go back. She's going and everything. But you were in a whole different state. Mason says, why weren't you in WWE? I never went out for the big time. I found out from many, many years ago, would have been 81, I think it was. I lived in New Mexico, had gotten trained in New Mexico. I went over to San Antonio, Texas. For those of you who remember Tully Blanchard, his dad, Joe, ran a very big promotion over there. And I think it was Southwest Championship Wrestling, I think it was called. Anyway, I went over to try out with the big boys, and Joe Blanchard, I have nothing but respect and admiration for him. But he told me, he said, listen, he said, in this business, he said, if you want to make it at this level, you are going to be on the road 310 days a year. And I was always very, very family oriented. And I was like, I thought about it for a long time, but it's like, you know what? I can get my rush working in the indies and never have to entirely give up family life. And that's what I did. And I have no regrets. I prefer the life I've had with family to having been able to perform in front of 20,000 people. Excuse me. Tsunami says, would you say you were technical like a Mr. Perfect? No. But I didn't attempt to be. I was technical in the respect that I know the business. And one of the things I'm most proud of is in the entirety of my career, no one I was working with ever got injured. Everybody gets hurt. You're going to come out, you're going to be dinged up, you're going to be banged up. That's part of the business. But everybody could get up and do what they needed to do the next day. I took care of guys I was in there with. So in that aspect, yes, I considered myself technical. In the classic sense, no, I was a brawler. Like I say, it was all violence. Austin says, would you rather wrestle the Rock, Sting, or the Hurricane? Oh, any of them. I'd be an honor to work anybody, especially anybody of that caliber. Lude says, is a Jaffa cake a cake or a biscuit? I don't even know what a Jaffa cake is. So I cannot help. Luke says, well, now you perform in front of 30 to 40 people over the internet, so I'd say it's a fair trade. That's one of the things I'll tell you, though, that used to, I would get so pissed off. And guys got to learn it, wouldn't say anything like that in front of me. Because you never know when you're going to go to a house, how many people are going to show up. It's indie wrestling. You might have 7, 8 people out there. Anytime I showed up to wrestle, I put on the match I was going to put on and had planned to put on, whether there were 500 people there or whether there were 6 people there. Because the way I looked at it, and a lot of guys wouldn't do that. They say, I'm not killing myself for 5 people. Look, still the fact remains those 6, 7 people paid money to come see a wrestling show. And if they're there at any level for me, it was because I do crazy violent shit. And I'm not going to not do it for them because there aren't enough people in there with them. It's not their fault. So I never took it down a notch, and it used to piss me off when guys would say that. Now, if you're a pro, if that's your only living, you could almost understand it's like these are times I got to save my body a little. But working the indies, no, never. I would never take it down. Thomas says you like a John Moxley, in style, and the reason I say this is only in style because I'm not comparing myself to him. He was a legend. But the style was very similar to Mick Foley, that type of stuff. I was not at his level, though. Rick says Americans don't have nice things. No, I'm not sure what that one is. Jack says it's technically a cake, but yeah, it's a biscuit. Either way, I'm good with it. It's one of the few food groups where I actually have a wide variety of things that I like is in breads. I'm a bread nut. I love breads. Big Green says, isn't Jaffa the villain from Aladdin? Jafar. Hey, I'll hit you guys again too. Here's the link to, for anybody who wants to join. This is the link to the podcast Discord. And as I said, if you do join, go into the meme section because Alpha's got some funny ones in there. We're going to be, it looks like the next, and I'm going to try and get it done over this weekend. The next podcast episode is going to be discussing the family-friendly drag shows. It looks like that's going to win the poll. We'll probably do the other one, the would an indictment help or hurt Trump, only because I took that poll and it stayed close enough that I think both topics might be something that would interest people. So we'll be doing those soon. John says you would have been a good fit in ECW. Would have loved to have worked ECW. I got to meet a lot of their guys. When we had a school in Schenectady, New York, and when ECW would come in and do a Schenectady show, they would come to our gym to work out. So I got to meet a lot of them. Good guys for the most part. Hey, Dragon. He says, because I missed yesterday's stream, I'll say this here. My thoughts on how the world will end is an older reference than you may get. The monsters are due on Maple Street. Not the aliens, but the concept. Yeah, I don't get that one, Dragon. My thought is an older reference that you may get. The monsters are due on Maple Street. Now you got me curious because I that's not. Yeah, that's not clicking with me. Due on Maple Street. You have to explain more for me, Dragon, because I'm not catching it. The Sid says the monsters are in the blood in the sky. Ooh, is there a deeper meaning to that? Something older than courtesy. And usually, and you guys know, typically the old stuff is the stuff I can still come up with. They were 100% right about the memory thing. You know, the long-term memory is great. It's better than I would expect it to be. The short-term memory doesn't exist. Aaron says, boy, I picked a real time to come in here. It's just that time of the month. You guys are funny. Reference to Twilight Zone. Okay. I saw a lot of Twilight Zone episodes. I don't remember that one. The monsters are due on Maple Street. I missed that one, or that one is slipping my mind, Dragon. Due on Maple Street. I remember the kid that you couldn't say anything bad about. That was a creepy one. Perhaps due on Maple Street. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Jeff said same thing. Back in the Rod Serling days. I must have missed that one. With the Lick says I remember the episode with the ugly people. Was that the pig face people? Because that one I remember. Oh, Billy Mummy. Well, wasn't Billy Mummy? I may not have been. Says wasn't Billy Mummy that kid I was talking about too? The kid that you couldn't say anything bad about. Remember he said anything bad, he sent you to the cornfield or something like that. I haven't watched any Twilight Zone in ages, other than the little thing we see in the Q area of Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Austin says Sting or Hogan or Hurricane. Which one do you want to come back? Again, I'm not looking for any of them to come back. They're all up there in years. Oh, okay. Dragon says it was an old Twilight Zone episode. Basically, people will destroy each other. Yeah, I don't think I saw that one. I didn't see all the Twilight Zone episodes. That was something that, for whatever reason, I got into later when it was in reruns. And I definitely didn't see most of the Twilight Zone episodes I've seen. I think they still do it. One of the channels, one of the old cable channels, I think is it on Thanksgiving? One of the holiday weekends, they run a 24-hour marathon. Excuse me. And years ago, I used to sit and watch a lot of those. I would just leave it on while I was doing stuff around the house and everything. So that's where I saw most of them, but I don't remember that one. But the concept of people destroying each other, yes, I would agree with you then, without a question. Unfortunately, I do think that is what is going to be the great ending of life as we know it. Jack says, I want none of them to come back. Bring The Rock back to feud with Roman for The Rock's last match. Yeah, I would like to see Rock come back for one more match. He's still in phenomenal shape and everything. Yeah, I would like to. Oh, is it New Year's, Jeff? He says Sci-Fi Channel shows Twilight on New Year's. I know one of the holidays they have a 24-hour marathon, or always did. And that's where most of the episodes I saw came from. Viking says, people destroyed each other after electricity was tampered with. Think of that Denzel Washington flick, Book of Eli, and you get the idea. Yeah, I definitely didn't see that one then. Nope, I didn't see that one. That sounds like a really, actually a fascinating episode. But yeah, I didn't see that one. Kaiser says, been checking out episode 1 of Aura Battler Aura Battler Dunbine. Dunbine? It's an 80s mecha isekai where the mechs are biomechanical bugs made from dead monsters. That last part should sound familiar for Evangelion fans. Biomechanical bugs made from dead monsters. Holy shit, that's a process. Little Frankenstein action working there. Maz says, my problem with modern wrestling is that it's either overproduced and workers aren't given freedom. That's true a lot. Or it's indie wrestlers wrestling for indie marks and not trying to build something bigger. I think that's a fair criticism on both ends. Yeah, I think that's true on both ends a lot. One of the things I used to preach when I was helping to teach in the wrestling schools and stuff, and you see a lot on the indies, is, and maybe it's just the old curmudgeon-y wrestler in me talking, but tell a story. I don't give a fuck how many 360s you can do in the course of a match if you don't give me a reason to give a shit whether you win or lose. Give me a reason to like you or give me a reason to hate you. And I think sometimes in the indies, they forget that. And that pisses me off. Wolfpaw, didn't get a notification of the stream. That's never a surprise, pal. Johnny says, I don't want to see Hogan ever again. He pissed me off when he said Andre didn't go up from at Mania and said he tore every muscle in his back. He said that? That's kind of bullshit, Johnny, because we all knew that at that time Andre couldn't go up. Andre was literally near death. And Andre couldn't stand Hogan. And Andre showed that he was a true professional by putting over the guy who was going to be the face of wrestling, because Andre didn't have to do that. And Hogan has admitted himself that he was almost being kind of a bitch leading up into that match, kept asking Vince, are you sure the boss is okay with this? Sure the boss is okay with this? And Vince said, all I can tell you is he said he's cool with it, because Hogan was afraid that Andre was going to kick the shit out of him in there. Because even in his beat down state, if Andre got a hold of you, you might end up in a lot of trouble. And we all know Hulk Hogan is not one of wrestling's real life fighters by any stretch. Nectar says, what's up with John Cena in China? Is he still singing Chinese songs on TikTok? I don't know, Nectar, but I like John Cena. I've always had a lot of respect for him. And yeah, I didn't care for that whole buckling under to the Chinese thing that he did. That was disappointing to me. Excuse me. Zuchen says, did anyone see the anime about cockroach? I know I didn't. What about that one, Chrome? You know what Zuchen means? Chrome's got a lot of anime knowledge. Aaron says Hulk the Rock Hogan. Jack Queen says, is Cena still licking China's balls? I don't know if he is still currently, but I know he sure took a big mouthful of sweaty Chinese balls a while back when he said something about, I think he said something about Taiwan, right? Being a country or something like that. And he immediately dropped down on his knees and started filleting. Johnny says, Andre's professionalism was unmatched. Right. I mean, here's a guy who, at that point, he knew he didn't have all that long to live. They said he was in constant, horrific pain. And he was putting over a guy he couldn't fucking stand because it was best for the business. So no matter what else is ever said about Andre, I'll always respect that. It was Andre. Nobody was going to make him take that loss. He could have said, no, I'm not, I hate this guy. I'm not doing it. You gotta put, if you want me to job, you got to put somebody else over. But he didn't. He knew, for whatever reason, Hogan was on fire. And Andre did what the real pros do. Wolfpaw says, what did John Cena do with China? As I said, I think he had made some comment about Taiwan being a country or something like that. And, of course, China got pissed. And Cena had a movie coming out. And he wanted to make sure that it didn't get censored or banned altogether in China, because that Chinese market's a lot of money. So he just immediately backed down and said something, made an apology in Chinese and everything. It's like, dude, Jesus Christ. Excuse me. Z Production says, what action anime would you say is the best? I know it's a hard pick, but mine is Hunter x Hunter, the only right choice. Yeah, for me, it depends on mood, but Hunter x Hunter is always right up there. I mean, Hunter x Hunter was the first. I loved Naruto. Hunter x Hunter was the first anime I watched that made me go, holy shit, these Japanese can tell stories at a whole different level. Hunter x Hunter will always have a really special place to me. Stormstar says, Andre and Taker were the only two guys to transcend wrestling just for being how good they were without the WWE mega marketing push. Hogan, Rock, Austin, Cena, now Roman got. They were just that good. You're true. That's true. Because Andre was a huge star long before the WWE. He was traveling the world and gotten. I remember one of the times he first got noticed was, it used to be way back in the day, when it was all in territories, they had a battle royal every year in LA. I forgot, one of the big arenas there, and everybody used to look forward to it. And Andre came in. I don't even know if he was Andre then. I think it was still Jean Ferrer then, but he came in and kicked the shit out of everybody. And people saw this 7-foot something monster in there just tossing people around. John Tolos was one of the big stars out there then, and he just ragdolled Tolos, and that was the first big impact I saw him have in America, and that wasn't even in the WWE. Excuse me. Dragon says, we don't need nukes. The need to find a scapegoat is all that is needed for us to start blaming and destroying each other. That is so sad but true, Dragon. 100%. Very sad but true. Maz says, best Andre story was on the set of Princess Bride. I've heard this. Andre apparently unleashed a 40-second long giant fart. Everyone went quiet till the director asked, you all right? Andre said, I am now, boss. Yeah, that's Andre. Yeah, I'd heard that one before. You guys ever seen the pictures of him holding a 12-ounce beer? He could hold a 12-ounce beer and you could engulf it. You couldn't see any portion of it in his hand. Excuse me. Luke says, yeah, but nukes make it funner, though. Yeah, I've heard that too, Tsunami. Hogan talks down about Andre sometimes. And I don't know. You guys know I'm not a Hogan fan. Hogan, not just because he wasn't a good worker. He has struck me as, and I'll say this as fairly as I can because I don't know the man personally, but on a personal level, he strikes me as kind of an annoying douche. I don't think I would like hanging around Terry Bollea, put it that way. So I don't put a lot of stock into anything he says. Excuse me. Yeah. Kaiser says, so he was being the literal and figurative bigger man. Indeed. Again, he put the business and what's best for the business above what Andre wanted to do. Because you know damn well he didn't want to lose clean to Hogan. And he sold it. I mean, you remember him and Heenan riding back on that thing they had, taking the wrestlers back and forth at WrestleMania. Heenan's got his head in his hands and looks like he's crying, and Hogan's back at the ring. I mean, he sold it. He didn't short sell it or anything like that. He went the whole 9. Did exactly what he was supposed to do. Austin says, what are your thoughts on Logan Paul being in WWE? I'm not a Logan Paul fan. I will give him credit. He's done a good job in what they've given him so far. Athletically, he's done an excellent job. Now, let's see when it's not small bites and he's got to carry a whole match. And let's see when he's got to carry a whole match with somebody, which the WWE will bring him along slow, so he doesn't have to do that. But when you're in with Seth Rollins can make a match with a broomstick look good. When he gets to where he's got to carry a match, he's got to be the dominant worker. Let's see how it goes then. But early returns, as much as I dislike the guy, early returns have been good. He's done a good job. Excuse me. Maz says, Undertaker to me seems like the kind of dude that is willing to forgive a ton of people's shortcomings. That's what I've heard. And even Taker has openly said that he thinks Hogan's a snake. Yeah, that's always the impression I've had of Hogan. And again, it wasn't just because I think he was a shit worker. I don't think he's a likable person. Conversationosaurus Rex says, what is your least favorite wrestler as a person? For instance, for me, I can't stand Hulk Hogan due to the fact that he has a massive ego. Macho Man couldn't stand him. Yeah, I'm not a Hogan fan. For me, I don't know if you guys remember Tully Blanchard from the Four Horsemen, but when I did go to San Antonio as a young greener trying to break in, Tully was a complete dick to me. Complete dick to me. And so I never liked him, obviously. But an interesting thing happened. Now, I haven't seen Tully again since, and that would have been in 1981. But a few years ago, he was working a show with a bunch of friends of mine in the business. And one of my buddies, I think it was Todd, and one of the guys anyway, had relayed the story that I had told them. Because, again, I just told him exactly what transpired between us. And he said, basically, he says, my buddies in the business said he came to your dad's promotion in 81 and said not a fan, Tully. And Tully himself, and this is what I got from my friends, said, kind of chuckled himself and said, no, he's not lying. He said, I had a lot of issues back then. I was an asshole. He says, I absolutely probably was an asshole to him. He said, it's unfortunate. I regret it. You can't fault somebody for saying something like that. You can't hold a grudge over something like that. If that's what he said, and they wouldn't have made it up. Again, it was no big deal. It's not it's not like he molested me or something. He was just an asshole. But I was really surprised to hear that. But yeah, my buddies said he's just a humble guy now. Easygoing, humble guy, and embraced it. They said, he kind of chuckled and said, yeah, that sounds like me. I was a dick. So you gotta respect that. Surf says, who you got in March Madness? Not a hard one for me. A son of and nephew of close friends of mine plays for UConn. So I'm rooting for Connecticut right from the get-go. And what a great kid. All his life growing up, Andre was always such a good kid. Great family, too. His mom's awesome. His one uncle was my partner on the garbage truck for years. I've known him forever. He's one of my best friends in the world. So I'm rooting UConn all the way. I wish the Final Four, if they win one more game, they're into the Final Four, was closer. I would have loved to gone and watched him. But Andre is just such a ridiculous athlete. When in Amsterdam, New York, that's where he grew up. That's where I worked. I remember when him and his brother were kids and they would play Little Giants football, the Pee Wee League football. It got to where they would let Andre carry the ball like the first 3 or 4 times, and then they would just have him do something else because they would hand him the ball and he would score. He was such a ridiculous athlete, the other kids couldn't do anything. Excuse me, he's tall. He's not big, he's not thick, but he's tall, but he was so fast, so slippery, and just played so with such determination that they'd hand the ball off. Andre would run it into the end zone. They'd hand the ball off. He'd run it in the end zone. They'd get a huge lead, and then they'd say, okay, Andre, come on, play some defense, play safety, do this, do that, because it's not fun anymore. Let's see. Dragon says, for me, it's Warrior. I have no respect for him as a person. Jim Hellwig, no, and certainly not as a worker either. He did a lot of things I didn't care for. No, I am not a fan of Jim Hellwig's at all. And I don't think Jim Hellwig was ever a fan of wrestling. He was somebody who had a good-looking physique, who's a bodybuilder, caught on with that gimmick. Somebody said, got him hooked up with Sting and the Blade Runners when he first started out. But he was not a wrestler's wrestler by any means. No, not a Hellwig fan. Let's see. Is the South Park about wrestling? Yes, Aaron, I love that one. It's not real wrestling. Yes, I have. And the stories they tell are just great. Wolfpaw says, "Can we react to Helsing Ultimate dub here on the show?" Not being able to react to much of anything, but I've watched all of the Helsing Ultimate dub. That was over. That's at the Goose, right, guys? That was so early on. I don't. Yeah, that wasn't at the channel. That's over at the Goose. I've seen it all. That's how Sarah's Victoria became my number one waifu and still is. Stormstar says, "I read in his book Brett got back on Andre's good side by saying soccer players were better athletes than American football players." That's good. Z Production said, "If you were younger, what YouTuber would you box?" Any of them. I just love to fight. You know, when I was younger, I was just I loved to box, loved to fight. I don't care who it was. It is still. Chrome says, "Yeah, the Helsing Ultimate dub is on the Patreon still, I think." Yeah, it should be. It should be. Yeah, it's got to be because I couldn't remember. Yeah, the only one we watched on YouTube, the only two we watched on YouTube before it became impossible, were Naruto and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, right, guys? Well, yeah, I think did I? What about the abridged? Did I watch the abridged on YouTube? I don't remember. He had to split episodes in two parts. Did I, Chrome? See, Chrome's. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Chrome's memory is way better than mine. Not surprising. I'm going to take you guys' advice and make a concerted effort to drink more water. I'm surprised my voice is. I can feel it, but my voice has lasted through this stream. Kaiser says, "How was Randy Savage?" Great worker, phenomenal worker. Well, comes from a wrestling family. Also, was Andre old school even before Hogan? Oh yeah, Andre's again. Just by the way Andre went out, you knew he had respect for the business. Andre had huge respect for the business. I thought so, Big Green. He said, "I'm pretty sure the abridged you did on YouTube." That's what was getting me confused. Yeah, the abridged I think is on YouTube. Viking says, "Why not arrange a match between you and Mr. Scott? Both have the same handicap." Mr. Scott and I have been in the ring. Well, actually, it was a feud with me that got Mr. Scott started wrestling because at the time Scott was our ring announcer. Scott's brilliant with anything to do with voice work. Got a great voice for anything, and he was our ring announcer. Well, he'd been training, and he was, thinking about getting into the ring himself. And I was a heel, so I said, "Hey, I got an idea. I'm going to start bullying the ref." And so we every month at our house shows there, I would do something vile to him, just something mean, just picking on somebody who didn't even want to fight type thing, bullies. It backfired on us because people being as demented as they are, they started cheering for me doing it. I'm punching the poor guy in the nuts, breaking his sunglasses, doing all this horrible, heinous things to somebody who doesn't even want to fight. That was the gimmick. And people would cheer anyway. But, of course, eventually he started wrestling, and he took me out with a chair shot and pinned me. And, yeah, good times. Good times. Excuse me. Ricky Steamboat was amazing, Austin. Phenomenal worker. Incredible worker. Okay, Chrome's got it. September 6, 2019 at 1:52 p.m. was the final episode on the Patreon. It's on Mega. The abridged is on YouTube still. You saw it seven years ago already? Wow. It's amazing how fast time... Holy shit. That doesn't seem possible, Chrome. Holy fuck. 7 years ago. Wow. That's actually stunning me here. Christy says, "Off topic, I can't wait until Lent is over. I gave up eating out and junk food." Oh, I would be anxious too. It's been a little difficult. Lent is funny because it seems like everyone who participates loses weight because of fasting. Yeah. Oof. That's one of the areas I certainly don't miss not being a religious person. My wife, well, for one thing today, she had to make herself some soup because she can't have anything with meat because, it's Lent. And I forgot what she gave up. Chocolate? I don't remember what she gave up this time. Austin says, what about the Von Erichs? Great family, just tragic what happened to all of them. Nectar says, I've been with this channel since 2018, so about 5 years now. Actually, it'll be exactly 5 years and 2 weeks. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Chrome says, by the way, any luck on the Switch hunt? I haven't gotten into this back room yet, but I still haven't seen it. It's week till April. If you can't find it soon, I may sponsor something for an April Fool's G100 instead. I'll I don't know what we do. We had to have brought it though. Because that's why I keep second guessing myself, saying, "Oh man, we left our Switch," but I know we didn't leave it there. Before we moved our stuff, I went through that house so many times, top to bottom, and it's not like the Switch would have been stashed away somewhere where I would have missed it. So it's got to be here. It has to be here somewhere. Dragon says, I also don't respect the ones in that bad Oklahoma segment that made fun of JR's disability. That was too far, and Russo was right in the middle of it. See, with something like that, Dragon, to me it would depend on how JR felt about it. Now, a lot of times, if you're going to go to extremes, typically you'll okay it with the person that you're cutting the promo on. But I'm not familiar with exactly what happened there. But if he, like JR wasn't with the company and they were just making fun of his disability, yeah, it's kind of classless. Absolutely classless. Cheap way to get heel heat. Now, if he was with the company and he's like, guys would ask me the respect thing when we're going to do promos on each other. You know, I even have guys ask before, well, can I make fat jokes? Of course you can make fat jokes. Make any joke you want. It's a promo. Of course, I don't give a shit what you do. You know, I was old school for that stuff. If it'll get us over, say whatever you want to say. I don't give a shit. Oh, Steamboat Flair matches were amazing, Johnny. Oh, okay. Stormstar says, I recall JR found it hurtful and tactless. And yeah, it was absolutely that tactless. I wouldn't do that. You know, no. I mean, everybody's like, oh, heat is heat. Well, I wouldn't make fun of somebody's disability or something. Now, their appearance, something like that, sure. If somebody's got big ears, hey, that's fair game. Or like me, if you're a fat guy, that's fair game. But to make fun of somebody's actual disability, no. No. Tsunami says, I remember people there saying Cornette was threatening to kill people for bad-mouthing JR. Cornette's nuts. I mean, as much as he can be a pain in the ass sometimes, if Cornette was threatening to kill you, you want to pay attention to it because he's definitely out there. Chrome says, I was considering sponsoring the first episode of the new Pokemon series in case we couldn't get the Switch working, but I only realized recently there may not be an English release for a while. Oh, that's too bad. I told you that before, Chrome. With all the hype around it and everything and what I've learned about it over the years, I wouldn't mind seeing some Pokemon. I know nothing about it. Wolfpaw says, I looked it up and Anderson from Helsing Ultimate is 6'8". Is he really? Wow. Wolfpaw says, do you think Will Smith's slap was justified? Absolutely not. Guy made a joke. And even if she does have alopecia or whatever, so what? It's just words. Is it offensive? Maybe. And there were way better ways to handle it. If you thought it was out of line, again, they're big stars. You can get your word out into the press at a moment's notice. Because you know after you made those jokes, there's going to be plenty of reporters, there's going to be plenty of media around Will Smith. The way to approach it would have been, you know, I understand that Chris Rock is a comedian, but I thought that was completely tasteless to make fun of my wife's disability. I mean, something that it really is difficult for her to live with. That's how you handle it. Going up and slapping somebody for making a joke? No, fuck him. Fuck him. I just try to, well, again, it's different backgrounds. I just picture myself, you know, in a situation like that. That wouldn't have been the last swing that was thrown. That's for goddamn sure. You can go up and slap somebody in the face, and I don't give a shit if he killed me afterwards. I don't care who it was. Never mind, but it wouldn't have been the end of it. Chrome says, oh, the way Jada threw him under the bus after that is disgusting. I don't like her at all. I don't know much of anybody that does. Jada Pinkett, yeah. He did though. Stormstar says in wrestling terms, Chris Rock gave his receipt a year later in that Netflix special. And by saying that, I don't mean to demean Chris Rock that he should have hit him back. He was very well may have just been being a bigger man by not doing so. I don't mean to suggest that. I'm just talking about how something like that would, for lack of a better term, strike me. Uh, Jada kind of reminds me of Amber Heard. Chrome says, "Yeah, I think that's a fair analogy." Yeah, Nectar says, "How do we end up here being so upset with jokes? You go and slap someone, right?" Excuse me. And again, I don't see any reason why you would think that Chris Rock would have any reason to believe that that was off limits. No. Lick says, Curtis, have you seen the videos of JR commentating over video game footage? No. That would actually be pretty good. I'll have to look that up, Licks. I haven't seen that. Good old JR? That's a funny concept. I would like to see that, yeah. I did see, Crone says, did you see Chris making fun of Will because he couldn't actually knock him down right? Yeah, I did. Dragon says, my favorite modern wrestler is MJF. He's a natural heel and his promos are great. I've only seen little bits and pieces of him. What I've seen so far, I've been impressed with. Yeah, and I know he's way, way over. So he's got to be doing something right. Because I know he's got a huge following and everything already. But I've only seen bits and pieces of him. I'd like to see more. Austin says, your thoughts on Brock Lesnar? Love him. I think Brock Lesnar works his ass off in the ring. And a lot of people don't like him because he only does it part-time or he's only doing it for the money. I don't give a shit. He might be doing it for the money, but when he goes out there, that man puts on a hell of a show. He knows how to put people over. He works his ass off to make his matches entertaining. I don't think you could ask for anything more than what Brock Lesnar gives you when he shows up the arena. He may be doing it just for the money, but he's earning his paycheck because I love watching him. And now he's even gotten to where he's solid on the mic too. No, Brock Lesnar is one of the most unselfish workers you see. Whatever's good for business with Brock Lesnar too. He'll put anybody over. You know, look at the way he oversold. His name always escapes me. The big Scotsman there in WWE. Oh, God damn it! I can't. You guys will remember. You guys know what I'm talking about. Somebody will say his name. But in that Royal Rumble and everything, the way he went out of his way to put him over big. I mean, he took that kick and he sold that like he got killed over that top rope and everything. Just, yeah, I'm a huge... Drew McIntyre. Yeah, Drew McIntyre, Stormstar. Yeah, Brock Lesnar is entirely unselfish. Stormstar says he's got his work cut out for him at Mania with that Omos guy. Could be Undertaker versus Giant guy. Yeah, well, he's got, right, by his work cut out for him, he's got his work cut out for him trying to carry his big ass through a match because he's not good. Omos is not a good wrestler. I had nothing against the guy personally, but he just can't work. So it's going to be all on Lesnar to make that match look decent. I agree, Maz. He says Brock is probably one of the most improved mic workers ever. Dude was such a bore during his first push. He was, and he's gotten really entertaining. He's gotten fun to listen to. Yeah. Big Green says Brock will even almost kill himself doing a shooting star press for who knows why. Yeah, he did. And you're right though, Big Green. He's willing to do whatever will put a match over, and you can't ask for more than that. And again, Brock is not hung up on wins and losses and titles and this, that, and the other. And the easy thing to say is, yeah, because he's had them all. Maybe. But still, Brock doesn't give a shit if it's good for business. If you tell him, hey, you're putting over Rey Mysterio, biggest disparity in size ever, I guarantee you Brock Lesnar will go, cool. He does what he needs to do. Austin says, Rey being in the Hall of Fame, does it surprise you? Does it surprise me? No, not at all. Rey deserves it. The longevity he's had, the beatings he's taken on a body of that size, it's tough when you're that small. And every night you're out there working somebody that's got at least 100 pounds on you. No, absolutely deserves it. All right, guys, I do have to go. This was a fun stream. What did we do? Yeah, an hour and 50 minutes. The plan is going forward, especially with YouTube making it almost impossible to post all the videos we want to post, a lot of the reactions and stuff, I'm going to be putting more and more time into our streams because I love doing these streams, and a lot more time in, doing the podcast and everything. And once again, I'll give you one last shot. Here's the, this is just the Discord for our podcast if you guys want to hang out there. I plan on doing longer and longer streams as long as my voice will hold out. And I'll tell you, slugging the water tonight, whether it's just coincidence or not, I don't know, but it's helped. It hasn't been bad at all. But this stream was an absolute blast. I appreciate it a lot, you guys hanging out with me. Great Free for All Friday. And over the weekend, there will be some podcast episodes coming out. So, pop in and give your take on whatever we're talking about there. But guys, here it comes. Free for All Friday. And now this is extra special sticky stuff because, again, it was almost a 2-hour stream. So just the amount of percolation is a cool word, percolation that's done during the stream means that this is going to be some exceptional shit right here. Everybody get ready. It's like the drum roll, please. I got to leave you hanging a little bit just so the anticipation's killing you. And pump-foo. Here comes sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for you, sticky stuff for everybody. Sticky stuff to the sky, catch it in the drips, because we'll bang, okay? Flashly like Buggy. And as always, most importantly, and it's always over, and it always knows how to work. Goose, 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 goose. Goose.